this time around, because one of the big picks that we haven't seen yet this series that really stands out to me is the Pantheon. Sylas is another one I was going to mention. That one's taken off the board away from Chovy as our pools get thinned out.
Yeah, I think that's one thing as well. As we start to get a little bit deep in the series, certain roles start to feel more pinched. Mid typically isn't one, I think, that gets pinched that badly. But you can see they're definitely trying to shut down the impact Chovy can have in the game with 2 bans directed to him already.
A Sylas ban also, sorry to cut across, also empowers a potential Gnar pick for Zeus, like picks that are very safe in the top lane. And when you take that Sylas away, you know better Gnar isn't on the other side.
Yeah, probably going to be Jace as the 3rd ban again, especially given that Rumble, Ambessa, and Cassante all gone in this situation. We'll see. Yep. No real big surprise there.
Maokai is up. That was when the Jace ban came through. Peanuts on blue side. Maokai's up. He takes that 10 out of 10 times, and down that one drops in.
I wonder where Galio's presence is going to be with Camille already taken off the board. I think that Galio, even in Wadid's mock draft, he picked it in the support role. It can be flexible. You can play it in top, but also Rumble's taken out now, so you don't have that angle. That was one of the bans in Game 2 with the first pick, Rumble. I wonder if we see it at all for the rest of the series.
A lot of confidence we got the Lee Sin. Obviously a pick that can do well in terms of having early pressure against the Maokai, but I think team fights are kind of a nightmare playing that into the Maokai later on, that AoE route.
One thing
don't worry, it's top lane.
One thing I will say though, as wow, Zeri priority very high. If we're going to be playing this, very tough to play into Maokai as well, because he can just root you instantly, especially in those early skirmishes. But I was going to say, Lee Sin can kind of circumvent the roots if they have enough control to allow him to, hop over a wall, get behind the Maokai, and find some target access. This is great setup for the MF, but I do think it's high risk.
MF Blitzcrank with the Maokai. Any enjoyers? Not us. Not us.
Okay, look. of any place to put Misfortune, this is it, right? You've got the Maokai setup. You have the Rel setup. Let's see. I mean, there's no Leona available. There's no Nautilus available. Let's see what sort of lockdown Genji can find to try to get on top of this immobile 80 carry and prevent those combos.
Yeah, I think the lack of Vi Nautilus is a big reason that we're seeing the Zeri, but I do also feel like, we saw the Zeri Yumi come out in Game 5 for Genji, but it was kind of conditional on the fact that, there were so few engaged supports left available. You're still dealing with Maokai, you're still dealing with Rel. There's still a lot of threat that can get on top of the Zeri, and you have the Galio for some peel, I guess, in the situation, but I don't feel like you have anything yet that's great at interrupting the MF ult. Obviously, if Galio gets on top of a Sher, but with a Maokai Rel, it's going to be difficult. Things like Leona are often picked up as a great way to just throw the ult out and stop it. Leona obviously not available.
I like the pinching of mid 80 carries here. MF isn't necessarily one of those hyper carry, 80 carry type where she's going to be autoing a lot. You pick her for her ult and her presence in lane, obviously. But if you take away Smolder Tristana, then you eliminate a lot of these potentials for another 80 carry to come through.
I completely agree. And one of the other picks I might look at here is something like a Victor. So anything that's going to do consistent damage for Zeka in this game. The Gnar is gone. They banned the Sylas, and it's one of those safe picks that you can blind in the top lane that I was talking about earlier, so I like that ban. Jack's gone in response. And I do think that the MF alone isn't enough damage unless they can consistently set up fights, but you're comboing into a Galio, you're comboing into a Zeri that's so mobile that it is very tricky. And sometimes you'll just get bowled over as the Misfortune in these fights. And Rakan, one of those champs that can conditionally get on top of the MF.
Yeah, I love Rakan with Galio because you get that extra bit of durability when the ult comes in. You have that really guaranteed engage. Maokai does make it a bit trickier, but usually you're able to get on the target you want to shut them down. And then if you get an ult onto Viper and then Galio presses R on top, there's no time to ult before you're dead.
Yeah, it's just such a mobile composition here for Genji. Galio isn't, but can just get on top of people without having to walk through. As Aatrox will be the blind pick here for Zeus. Famous for this blind pick, but see if it does get countered. There's no Gnar here. Keen could play GP into this, but very risky.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Kennen into the Aatrox specifically, even with lane swaps, like that period from when you sort of swap back to normal lanes. From then on, Kennen can be just really painful to play into. It's been kind of a go-to if had the LCK Cup into it, so potentially could lean in that direction, but...
another direction entirely. And just Zeri may not be enough. They might want more. It is the Vayne lock-in from Keen into this Aatrox.
This feels a little bit like karma for Zeus, because he's definitely done this to a lot of players in the LCK before. A lot of mobility on the side of Gen G, but they're going to have to make use of it in these fights, so they'll get pinned down quite quickly.
Pretty interesting Game 3 draft. Let's hop on the riff and see how it all pans out.
수환사의 극복에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Getting hyped back behind us are the Gen G fans, but getting ready now for this game number 3. Do we feel like HANWHA Esports did enough damage in this draft from the blue side? Because already we're seeing the blue side having a lot of power in these drafts. Do you also feel like this Vayne R5 is enough to potentially get Gen G back and potentially stop that pattern of blue side winning?
I think it's a bit of a gambit. I think HLE have a lot of strong team fighting tools, and if they can stay grouped as a unit, I think Gen G benefit better when the fights are very spread out. You know, like Vayne against 2 people can really shut them down and isolate them, but Vayne, you know, if a Maokai just flash W's you and other people are there, you'll go down. But I will say the big things that Gen G should look to leverage, their mid-jungle 2v2 is stronger, and that top lane matchup is going to be hell for the Aatrox. Aatrox is a good pick into the 4 picks that came before the Vayne. Not going to be fun playing Aatrox in a Vayne, even if you avoid the early level.
I like this level 1, though.
Keen doesn't have flash, so he is going to ghost, and he is going to just die. I mean, tries to go in there and create space for Canyon, but instead he's the one that eats the kill, and also Canyon is denied.
And Zeus was just he went straight to the bottom lane, and Ruler's gonna have to flash.
Wow. Well, I mean, early games have been Gen G dominated so far, so
yeah, I just want to make it clear,
get a chance now.
This is what I would like to call a bad thing for Gen G.
Yeah.
In case anyone's wondering, not a good start. Well, probably not what they were hoping for.
They were able to group up on a Vayne that they know doesn't have flash. They sent the Aatrox bottom.
Oh
God!
Ruler just electrocuted! He got zapped out of the sky!
You buffed that enough, and I guess you could just kill a Zeri. All right, well, pretty rough start here for Gen G, to say the least. And I mean, look, the level 1, they grouped up top side, tried to punish the Vayne. Aatrox is set up their bottom side. He's going to be fine into the Zeri, but actually gets the jump onto Ruler, gets a huge edge there. And now, you know, this is going to be a really difficult to pilot draft for Gen G. It was already tricky enough, but Ruler is just so far behind this MF.
You know, the thing is, I feel like having Ruler go up against the... Oh, wait. Maybe seeing something here from Canyon.
Well, he gotta try to do something, right? The Q will land, and he will avoid the Maokai. Zeka flashes, and Canyon just ends up hitting a minion, not able to get in range. And now Zeus is here again, just ganking mid? What can't this guy do?
This game is feeling like a bit of a Zeus diff at the moment, honestly. But this is kind of reminiscent of when we had Aatrox came in the meta really hard, when Gnaw top was a big thing, and you'd play like Comet Aatrox into the range top. Yeah. And Zeus will have so much experience playing Aatrox into range champions. I don't think there's many times where Rulers had to 1v1 an Aatrox as a short range champion, and it really showed in that scenario. Well, the electrocute damage coming in very clutch when he got that kill.
He certainly ended up playing in a different region when that was the meta here in the LCK, and when Zeus was playing in the LCK during that meta. So we'll watch this one more time. No flash for either player. Ruler just greeting for some experience here and trying to get some something out of the lane.
The level up that came through as well.
I go.
Yeah, that is how you have to respond to that.
Yeah. I don't know how to translate that. They're basically like, oh God, in this case.
I've got to say, I think this must be the shortest lock-in to regret ever for a Vayne top from the draft.
Now Canyon's really having a rough time, but he does have some friends with him. Nice taunt, actually, to peel, but it's really just barely getting away taunts. You know, it's not like, oh, we set up a play. It's like, oh, God, I barely saved you kind of a taunt, but at least Canyon will survive.
Keen's like letting the minion size, like, this is how we can get back in 1 minion at a time. Gonna try to freeze us a little bit, try to get some experience away. Oh, no.
It's the classic line. Guys, don't worry. I am Vayne. We outscale. Give me 30 minutes and it's all good. That's all I need.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say before this game even started, you know, back to your question, Valdez, at the beginning, it was like, did HANWHA get enough advantages in this draft? I feel like in terms of our blue side drafts, this is the one that's the weakest and the one that has the least cohesion. But I think that's part of a product of the fact that we're 3 games into this series now. A lot of champions have been removed. And also, you end up getting 3 insane comfort picks here for HANWHA Life. Zeus on Aatrox, Peanut on Maokai, and Zeka on the Ahri here. And when you have a draft that doesn't necessarily have the best synergy, it's really helpful when everyone has great mastery of their champions. Delight on Rel, for example, as well. And they just showcase what they can do with a weird draft from level 1, and they keep eking out these big advantages now.
I think as well, speaking of mastery, we had last year, we were talking about this unbelievable win streak Peanut had on Maokai. They did eventually end up getting broken, but I mean, it's a big reason why it's been denied from him so often, because he just won so many games consistently on this pick. And I think when you have Delight on Rel and Peanut on Maokai, this duo with just a ton of CC between them who could set up all 3 lanes, a lot of power there.
Yeah, you just pick any kind of carries and it'll work with those just because of the comfort. I think those are great points. And, you know, obviously, Keen, you know, he's comfortable on the Vayne. He's played it before. Chovy, no stranger to playing the Galio in mid and stuff like that.
Canyon Lee Sin, I mean, it's Ruler Zeri.
Yeah, it's just that playing this comp from behind, it really is just that feeling of, it's okay, guys, we scale. Just wait for the inevitable late game, or maybe some mistakes from HANWHA Life Esports, but
it's the way that it happened, I think, that is the reason why it feels so bad, right? Like, the way that Zeus was able to kill Ruler in the bottom lane while he's trying to greed for those minions. You know, it's the way that they were able to catch a flashless Vayne in the top side. Because I still think this game is 100% playable for Gen G. They're just one hand tied behind their back for now. They will scale, and if they can stave off the pressure a little bit more, there is definitely an angle for them to come back. They will grab this first dragon as well here. It's just, will we see further issues? Will we see this further snowballing here? Because Gen G can recover a few good skirmishes for them, and they're right back in it. They have that global Galio. There's a lot of ways to bait HANWHA Life into unfavorable positions with this draft. They still don't have a traditional 80 carry in this draft as well, so don't count Gen G out. It just looks real bad when you see how it starts off here. This one's not over yet, but one more big fight for HANWHA, and it will be.
Yeah, it's definitely rough feels for Gen G, but, you know, we had game 1. Game 1 did happen. Game 2 was much cleaner. Gen G just shut that one down, but Gen G had a lead in game 1. It was thrown over to HANWHA Life, who then threw it back. They were very even on gold at about 20 minutes, and then eventually HANWHA did go on to win it, but, you know, HANWHA Life have been a little bit less clean so far today from ahead, and we'll see if we do get any comebacks. But at this point in time, you guys talked about it, they have a very good team fighting comp, and as long as you have a lead and you have vision control, setting up team fights with Maokai and Rel is it's a piece of cake, right? As long as your team is there, you should be able to follow up pretty easily, and I have enough faith in HANWHA to at least set up some nice team fights here in the mid game.
We did just see HLE's bot lane come bot, you know, Zeus TP top to pick up that wave and now looking for the reset. I think we're going to see a lot of this kind of cat and mouse situation where HLE are avoiding this setup, because obviously the longer you keep your top laners away from each other, the better, but also if Zeka, especially if Zeka gets fed, can lane so much better into the Vayne and even have kill threat if he's ahead enough.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see, look at what, he just stopped Keen's backs twice. Had teleport advantage, so teleports top to clean the wave instantly. They go straight back to the bottom lane, they swap it back. That cat and mouse game you just mentioned, we're watching it play out in real life, or in real time and real life.
Is this real life?
It's real life, actually, in fact. And so Zeus comes back down to the bottom lane, and it's just one wave up on this Vayne, so the Vayne can never get the lane advantage that she's looking for here, because he just keeps avoiding the Vayne repeatedly by having that extra wave pressure of advantage. Doesn't have the teleport advantage anymore here, but he got a lot of experience and a lot of minions here for free without interacting with Keen. Now he's going to interact with them a little bit.
Yeah, at the end of the day, though, this is Vayne, so yeah, you can do your combo. You're still going to get run down. Zeus in a bit of trouble here. Will he dive the turret is the question. Looks like he was one auto off.
Canyon?
Or maybe trying to set it up for Canyon, but yeah, Zeus is already out of here. You know, he tested it, and he learned very quickly again that, well, This, yes, in fact, he is playing Vayne.
Well, he was like, I'm going to avoid the Vayne a lot. Okay, we're going, and I'm like, well, maybe it was just a coincidence.
I gotta be honest, I don't think you needed to test that, but they all play in the top side.
Yeah, I mean, ult's going to be preemptively used by Ruler, and it looks like that will be enough to stop them from diving. But yeah, that's one of those super easy dives, right? Maokai, Rel, MF, you press all your buttons, your ults, you kind of just lock someone down. Ruler's Cleanse is going to be huge, and his Flash to try to get away from setups like that in the future.
Yeah, I think the reason Zeus went for that heavy trade was he was trying to crush the wave in and then ended up failing. But then Keen actually pushed the wave out. It looked like the wave was in a terrible spot, but Keen ended up pushing it out and getting a reset and TPing back in. So Zeus not in too bad of a spot with how things ended up playing out.
They did put some vision now on the Raptors and towards the river there, because they didn't go for the dive earlier because they knew that Chovy could potentially ult in. Now they know Chovy is gone. Potential opportunity here, although the execution a little off and the wave is cleared. And Peanut obviously isn't there anymore, but that was a very careful calculation of HANWHA Life, not going for that instantly there, because the Galio could have just ulted in and turned that fight.
Yeah, I think as well the power of the Zeri ultimate. I've seen, we've seen so many games of Zeri in the LCK so many times where like level 6 is hit and it's just a complete game changer for pressure in the lane. Ruler definitely pressed it to kind of say, don't mess with me, but I think HLE really took the hint on that one and knew, any missed execution and you give it a triple kill over to Zeri. And we have the guy here who could certify that, so.
Yes, thankfully he is with us here on the caster desk, just in case we need certification. So far, did not pass the certification test, did Ruler.
It is looking less and less likely that we will have a certification in this game.
Yeah.
As we get closer to 12 minutes in.
But hey, you never know.
You never know.
They come at any time, sometimes when you never expect it. As they're setting up again. Here, this time, trying to get in onto Keen, and Keen, he's going to pop his ult, but isn't too late. He goes in Viz. But Zeus, down a flash. Is he in range? He's got Zeka with him, and that should be enough, right? Zeka? Okay, there you go. One auto takes him down. Still has 2 charges on a Spirit Rush against Lee Sin, and he should be totally fine.
I love how Zeka was like, I'm going to ult back towards mid and pick up that wave, and was like, oh, no, wait, I'll get the Vayne. 1 second. Just like, he's already like, yeah, I've got it, I'm out. But yeah, Keen without the Ghost and the fact Zeus still had the Flash being a difference maker, and even though this is definitely an advantageous matchup for the Vayne and just so many tools to deal with it, you can still be punished if you make a mistake. If you get hit by one of those sweet spots, the knockup comes in, the follow-up is there.
And you can buffer into those sweet spots with the Flash, and it's the second time the fact that Keen has gone Ghost instead of Flash for the lane advantage has actually cost him big. Happened at level 1, happens here a second time in the isolated matchup.
Chovy in kind of a weird spot, but he should be okay. And yeah, I mean, Keen, he's taken a couple of early deaths, and this Aatrox is definitely more fed than Zeus would normally have to deal with.
I love that we have it in first person here because it can really showcase exactly how you can flash into that sweet spot to guarantee the kill. Gets duped for a second, but he knows Zeka's got the TP.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing as well. Him going that way ensures if Vayne went up the lane dead, but knowing he has a TP backup, the back turn doesn't matter for Keen there, so makes the correct call in the situation.
Absolutely.
And just playing it beautifully. I feel like this is honestly solo queue accurate Vayne top. This is what happens when I see a Vayne top.
Our team, Vayne top.
Yeah, our team dies level 1, gets solo killed by the Aatrox, tells us, don't worry guys, we'll just scale.
Viper. He's trying as hard as he possibly can, now that he's picked up BT, to already start putting on a lot of lane pressure, and that's really what he's going to enjoy on this pick here. Again, not the traditional AD carry, but he picks up that early BT. He's very safe, and he will shut down mid lane and just hold it down for the rest of his team to continue with this this lead they have.
We haven't been huge fans of the MF, but this is something she does really well, and why teams pick her is once you have that BT, no AD carry can really contest mid priority against you, because even if they find a favorable trade, which is unlikely, you just heal it up off every wave.
You have the shield, so you can take a turret shot. You have your passive where you can just juggle that new shot onto the Zeri repeatedly, and you have double up, which just naturally does a ton of damage. So you just kind of keep chipping away, healing up, getting your shield back, and it's Zeri just kind of pitifully trying to finish a cull so she can get that first line. Very close now.
Oh man.
Keen, he might get flashed on here. Keen does not have flash. There it is, the Q, and the ult is not even needed.
He had to just commit his ghost and run away, I think, there. But he waited so long, loses his ghost anyways, and still dies.
Yeah, now 800 gold down in the matchup, and just giving a kill over to Viper to make it worse. This is
Yeah.
So remember when I said it was not over yet, but like one more big issue.
Don't worry,
we had
guys.
2 more, and I think it's pretty over now.
Don't worry, guys. He scales.
Oh, man.
Very nice. Absolutely right on the money there was Zeka with that charm.
I love how it's the last pick as well from Gen G. They were definitely contemplating over it, and Keen's like, yeah, I can do it. Dies within like the first minute and a half, and it's all been downhill since
I think
then.
there's a psychological element to seeing, blind Zeus Aatrox where you want to challenge it with something that's going to win naturally. You don't want to try to weak side into it because you're like, oh man, he's going to get a huge advantage. If I try to go for, let's just say they went Oner in this case, for example, just to amplify some of the scaling later on in some of the mid-game skirmishes, then Aatrox just kind of, if it's Zeus, gets too big of an advantage. So like, we have to neutralize this. We have to pull out his vein. It feels like you're almost taunted into it, and it was a good call. It's just the execution from HANWHA Life to punish it has been so good.
And the thing is, now you're so weak. I mean, there's still danger from the Aatrox, who has this Psycho Sword, which has so much burst if you do misstep. But also, Zeka just went top 2 levels up on Keen, nearly killed him without ult. If he had ult, Keen was just dead, guaranteed. And it's like, you've gone from a situation where, like, start of the game, okay, how can we avoid the Vayne for the Aatrox, to, like, how can we get our Vayne to farm, who's 2 levels down on both solo laners, and doesn't even have first item yet?
Yeah, and they're getting the ghost away from him constantly, so he doesn't even have that tool. Obviously, flashless. You don't really go flash on Vayne in most situations. So it's just so easy to actually just ult forward and charm him in so many scenarios. And I mentioned the Vayne not being a tanky frontline is going to oftentimes be the target for those charms in team fights, and when the Vayne's this far behind, it's just free food.
The thing is, I think there's a break point where Zeka can kill Keen without even hitting a charm, and that is the point where it's completely doomed.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing you can do. If you can just dash 3 times and then maybe hit the outwards part of the Q and you die, you can't step up ever.
Yeah, and really what this amounts to is that HANWHA Life Esports with the lead kind of just get to do whatever they want. Again, as long as they don't make any big mistakes, although Delight is taking a bunch of aggro here on the right side, and Gen G are moving in to potentially fight over this. Teleport's available for Zeka and Keen, but, I don't think at this point you really want to teleport a level 10 Vayne with no items into a Rift Herald fight. It's not that meta.
Yeah, I also don't think...
You'd probably lose anyway.
I don't think Zeka needs to TP, so he's just very happy to keep Keen under a turret and continue to put that pressure on 2 levels up.
So HANWHA Life, they just have this lead, and it just snowballs out of control because Gen G don't have any control at all.
Yeah, it's the classic, 0-3 Vayne, TP's in, pops ult, tumbles, goes invisible, presses condemn, dies immediately.
What's my team doing? Yeah.
I feel like in this case, if he TP'd in, he would have walked forward with his team and then walked out with the rest of his team, and that would have been the end of it. Zeka could have matched the teleport, but I'm not even sure. He would probably wait and see. Like, he'd be like, yeah, no, I'm just going to keep pushing. I think they're done. I think it was the right call not to show up there, as we're kind of all circling the train with Gen G in this one. Sometimes in finals we've cast so many series that go the distance, but single games, the draft read is risky. They get super hard punished. HANWHA Life looking really prepared with the draft. I wasn't personally super sold on initially, but the execution has been good and the mastery of these champions is there. Yeah. And it's the level 1 start, that leads to Aatrox being able to have that agency, look for a solo kill. Yeah. That really runs away with the game here. And now it doesn't matter. You can't even talk about the good parts of Gen G's comp anymore.
When you get this far ahead, it's like you can't really drop the ball on it. It's so easy to play as well. Like I said before, Maokai and Rel, you just kind of press your buttons and MF over the top. It's almost unlosable from ahead as long as you're not letting one of the 80 carries on the other side get too far ahead.
I think a big thing as well is so much of the CC from HLE is cleansable, like the Maokai, just everything, the Charm from Zeka, the Delight Q as well. If Gen G were ahead and you have the extra budget to pick up QSS, not just for Keen but for Ruler as well, on top of the cleanse, and his cleanse is regularly up, that is when it can feel really hard for HLE. But now that's so far away, the CC is going to stick, and if they burn cleanse of Ruler, that cooldown's going to feel so long.
The extra dragon that Gen G were able to pick up early on is so helpful in this game for giving them the longevity they need to potentially survive. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm saying it's very unlikely that they'll survive to Zeri being on 2 items and having a team fight they can take. I mean, she may end up getting a second item in this game. I just don't know if she'll be team fighting with it in a 5v5 where there's a chance, where there's any prio, but they could ignore this dragon, for example, and say, look, there's just no way. It's not possible right now. We're going to leave Keen Keen in the side lane a little bit longer here. I'm gonna let him just catch it under inner. He will be more relevant later. And that's all you can do as Gen G in this one. If you didn't have the Dragon though, and HANWHA Life are grabbing now Soul Point, you'd have 5 minutes less time to sit around and avoid fights here. So at least there's that. I mean, I'm really cup 1/10 fulling this one, but I think that I think I can see a little bit of water in there. You know?
Yeah,
Quite full, yes.
I'm more of a cup 90% empty sort of guy.
Yeah.
The drops at the bottom, you know, you hold it upside down and like one drop runs down. That's basically full.
Yeah. And there hasn't been a lot of action, too, because Gen G know it, HANWHA Life Esports know it. Like, they're putting on pressure, our HANWHA, but they're also not overstepping. They're like, okay, we have the lead. Let's take all the objectives. Let's get everything we can, but there's no reason to, like, overstep it as long as we keep a decent pace against the double AD carry. And Gen G are like, well, we can't do anything right now, so we just have to farm. Yep. So there's just no action. HANWHA Life Esports are taking everything, literally.
Yep. I think there could be more agency, or there's a lot of agency that isn't being utilized by HANWHA Life and Peanut to try to just dive and kill champions here. Now they don't have too much of an angle because Gen G are grouped, but there have definitely been some moments where they could have tried to push further. Well, with all outers already down, they're like, do we really want to throw this game on pushing it inner? Let's just hold on to the advantage we have. I think picks like, or objectives like Otacon over HANWHA Life are really going to start to put the screws in. Yeah,
I feel like Otacon is a big one because HLE are like, look, we can try and bait them into this objective. It's a great spot for us to team fight. And if we get Otacon, game is just ours. And on the other side, Gen G are like, they could throw at Otacon. Like, this is, for both teams, a delicate spot where, like, if there's going to be a comeback, I feel like it's on the back of how much damage and shred this neutral objective has. So Gen G are just waiting there, hoping that HLE decide to start it as the best window in.
Has flash advantage. Does Keen win this?
At that health, yeah, I think
at this health, let's see. As the sweet spot's gonna hit, he dodges the second one, but the damage is in. The flash comes down in one auto. Zeus, I think he gained health on that fight. He gained health in the 1v1.
He has flash advantage. He actually couldn't. He was like, okay, I'm actually gonna flash for the triple sweet spot so I can have the big ball on top of that pain. And Keen didn't play it very respectfully either, just kind of ran at him, but just saying I have a health advantage. And now Zeus has TP, and
yeah, I mean, one thing is that he didn't end up getting the condemn when I think there was maybe an angle to against the wall, but also I'm not even sure how much he actually autoed him. He just spent the time trying to avoid getting hit. Yeah. So, like, I actually want to see the replay count how many autos he actually did.
Yeah, I want to see, I would love to see it from both perspectives, actually, but I think we'll probably only get Zeus if we do. Speaking of.
Okay, so there's one auto, 2, 3, 4. Didn't even get the 5th. Well,
that's 2 items on an Aatrox now.
Yeah, the cycle sword as well, like the dash for the empowered auto.
Yes.
The passive is not much you can do to outplay that.
Hitting some Qs also hurts.
Hitting Qs very good, you know. A lot of mobility. I think one of the things as well is like your tumble is such a huge resource when you're into the Aatrox, and maybe didn't get the most value.
They're even denying Gromps here. Like, they're putting in such deep vision. And HANWHA Life Esports, credit to them, they are respecting very much Gen G here because they know, you know, you give Zeri a moment, you give Vayne a moment, you're going to have a moment yourself as Duro and Ruler will hop away together, dash away. In comes the TP, they got that. As the blast comes in, they get behind Viper, and now may be able to take him down. There you go, the shutdown, but now here comes the massive team fight from the side of HANWHA Life Esports. They group everyone up. They don't have a lot of damage as the taunt goes in onto the Aatrox. There's the kill, but the Aatrox might just be enough from this far ahead, level 15. Ruler, though, the AD carry still left alive. In goes Canyon. He wants to continue the fight. Zeus going back in against the two of them as he desperately wants to get on to Ruler here, but I just don't think he has the reach to do so. Zeka sticking around, winning the 1v1, and now chipping away at Canyon's health bar might have been enough as Ruler just doesn't have a front line to continue cutting this one out. A bit scary, but Gen G gave it, you know, the old college try.
Can't certify that one, unfortunately. Ruler's so close, his positioning so good there against Peanut as well, but it's just not enough. The Aatrox just heals so much, it's so difficult to take him down, he can't step forward far enough.
And it's such a slick kick from Canyon coming in on the Viper. So many plays. I feel like that he's won on the back of moments like this. So many games they've won on the back of plays like this. But the rel engage is huge, and unfortunately, this is just a symptom of this Aatrox being so strong and them not having that second carry in the vein really exists. So even though Ruler is kiting well, keeping space pretty effectively, it's so hard to approach, and he's just not cutting through this Aatrox quick enough. And I think this is just Dragon for HLE. I don't think Canyon can really do anything this time around. Doesn't have the flank angle.
Doesn't have the flank, doesn't have a flash. Not going to be able to get on top of Viper this time, and that's just Dragon, as you say. And now Zeka, ult back in hand for another potential angle. Gen G need to be respectful here. I mean, Ruler does have his Runins, so he's like, maybe this is our chance back. Maybe this is our way back into the game. If we can take out one of these damage threats, we can front to back this, but just don't have the angle right now, unfortunately, to catch said threat. Look at Viper's positioning. He's not catchable. He's ready to ult.
It's been so much posturing around this Gromp, and really what it's about is obviously pressure for the Otacon. In they go, extremely deep. Here comes the fight, but actually a little bit broken up as Zeka desperate trying to take down Canyon. Finally, we see a condemn hit onto Zeka, but yeah, they just didn't quite have it. The charm landing. HANWHA Esports very much overextending for that play. They're not really able to get much for it.
Yeah, this is one of the things with Gen G's comp. There is so much mobility. It can be tricky to pin them down if they are disengaging and running away. So HLE don't find the angle there. And now actually TP coming in, and I think...
Hey, I mean, I feel like we're going to give that cup an Otacon or a Chemtech soul buff. Maybe it's 13% full now. I mean, this is a good angle here. It's the best they're going to get.
So risky though, and Zeka was the lowest HP person. He's going to TP back in.
It's going to reset too.
Now, I don't know about this.
I mean, they can hold it for a while.
Just flip
Zeka has
it.
TP.
You know what?
Might as well.
It's a 13% full game. Just flip it.
Zeka's going to TP very far away though.
Yeah, I mean, this is getting relatively low, 5,000 health as Zeus has the angle. It's just going to come down to a flip. The charm goes totally wide, but in goes Delight. Everybody's so low, and it does go the way of HANWHA Esports. This might is good for Peanut, and that should be the nail in this one, as the right side of the fight is heavily HANWHA Life. Chovy trying to desperately get away from an MF who's about to strut her way over and try to take him down. And 1Q1 auto, not quite enough. As Chovy may just barely, he's gonna have to flash that one as the rain comes down. He's still on the run. He's still on the run, and he gets his ult up, and there he goes down. As it is a full ace, finally, for HANWHA.
I think there was a lot of scenarios where that fight went wrong for Gen G. Even if they secured Otacon, I think there's a lot of scenarios where they just lose the fight afterwards immediately. But I think when the game is in this position, I think you have to take some gambles.
I mean, I just love how HANWHA Life let the Otacon do the work. Look at how they just stand there and go, yep, keep hitting it, waiting for angles. Zeus is threatening, Ruler's out of range, Zeka's on the flank, and then Canyon here just gets burned down. Look at the chunking from Viper. So he just has to smite early, because otherwise he dies before it's in range. HANWHA played that so patiently, not giving Ruler any chance, any room to breathe.
Okay, so it was 13% full now. How are we feeling at the moment?
I think HANWHA may have just taken a sip. So I think we're looking at like, there's like a drop. Like if you turn the cup upside down, I think it would make a small stain on like a paper towel, you know? And I think that's, I think we're ready to move into Gen G's blue side draft.
Yeah, Zeus has damage by a significant margin at this point in the game. And not very surprising, right? I mean, he got a free kill onto Azeri, and then he got a kill onto
3 entire levels up.
And then he got another kill. Yeah, he's 3 levels up. He's about to hit level 17 as well.
I mean, Keen played this game a little bit disrespectfully, but it's the early level 1 that gave him a little bit of an edge, and he ran with it, man. He got that solo kill, crushed Keen in the second 1v1. Now he's just going in.
He's got Otacon buff. He's like, all right, I'm ready to rumble. Somebody fight me, please. I'm so fed right now. He flashes in, and this is looking like old Otacon buff. Making some room. Down goes Viper, though, as HANWHA Esports He's taking a little bit too big of a bite there.
Yeah,
they're not going to get the inhibitor.
Wolf was talking a bit about Keen being disrespectful, and I think we just saw the other side of it.
Yeah.
He
He had TP, so he forgot the new Otacon takes a little bit of time on the withdraw. I thought he was just going to be right back in there.
I mean, that is one thing with Aatrox, is he does do a lot more damage if you actually hit his abilities. So, you know.
So they're like, oh, he took a lot of damage there. Look at this. That wasn't the point they were illustrating, but it is very funny. The comedic, unintentional comedic timing is he just goes in here and is kind of chain CC'd and can't get out.
Yeah, also, I mean, dashing over, I mean, Keen was in a position to condemn him, but like dashing over a wall against a Vayne is a decision.
I mean, he could have flashed instantly out, but that would have been equally funny, I think.
I feel like they had the ending drops, the driplets of the Otacon buff, and they just desperately wanted to send a message or something. It looked funny. They're still going to win the game. They still have Baron for 30 seconds on 3 members as TP comes in onto a turret. Chovy does get into the front of the fight as Zeus maybe trying to get another kill on the Keen here. He is going to have a bit of help from Viper, who flashes on in and gets some revenge himself. As down will fall the Nexus turrets. They have so many cannon minions that are empowered on this one. As this game felt like a done deal at minute 1, and HANWHA Esports will make it a done deal here at minute 30. As down goes the Nexus, they take the lead 2-1.